Hey guys, it's Megan. I have a new video for you today. This is my first true crime video that I did my research on and made all by myself. Up until now, I've kind of had some intro videos and things like that, but today is my first video and I'm so excited to talk about it because it is a crazy story. I mean, crazy. This woman is disgusting, brutal. She's been called one of the worst mothers in the world, and it is just, this story really breaks my heart. It's really sad, but I felt like it should be put out there. I'd actually seen under some other YouTubers how many people asked for them to do this video, and I haven't seen it out there a lot. I've only seen like one person do it, so I was like, oh, I'll research that video, or I'll research that story and do a video on it. So I'm here today to do that story. If y'all have not heard of the book If You Tell, this is it. You need to read it. This is what my story is about today. It is by Greg Olson, and it's a really good book. It is pretty brutal to read and to get through. I know a lot of people said that they couldn't even get through it because it's just, it's really bad. It's awful. It's sad. It's just hard to get through, but this is what my story is about today, is If You Tell. I just wanted to do a trigger warning also. This story does have abuse, child abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse of children and of older people. So if you don't want to hear about that, that's fine. Just skip ahead and wait till my next video that I put up, all right? Okay, so her name is Shelly Knotek. She was born in Washington on April 1954 to Les and Sharon Watson. She was an older sister and had two younger brothers. Her dad actually left her mom when they were pretty young. He left her for a lady that was 10 years younger than him, so quite a bit younger, and Shelly hated that because she just didn't like her. It seems like Shelly didn't really like anybody, so that doesn't sound new. But they went and they stayed and lived with their dad, and then they ended up having, the woman's name was Laura that their dad started dating, so her and her brothers went to live with their dad Chuck and their new stepmom Laura. And Shelly was said to be very intimidating even at a young age. I mean, she would be like 5 years old, and she was putting glass in her siblings and family's shoes so that when they put their shoes on, their feet would bleed. She tried to burn down their house one time, and this is crazy. She even told the school that her father was sexually abusing her. So they actually showed up at the house and they investigated it, and come to find out it wasn't true, because she did go to the doctors and she did get one of those, you know, rape test kits, and it ended up not being true, of course, because he was, you know, Chuck was a good guy. So she did not get away with anything there. Shelly would not listen to anything that anybody said. I mean, she was a big handful for Laura and Chuck just let her talk to Laura any kind of way that she wanted to. So she was really disrespectful to everybody in that house. It was just, you know, all the kids spoke over their dad. He had no say in anything. There was no controlling their kids. They made life for everybody in this house so hard, and just, it was just bad. Like her brothers, they wanted to leave and they wanted to, you know, not be there. And even her stepmom Laura, she was like, I don't know if I can handle all this. This is just, you know, a lot. So So Shelly had a grandma. Her name was Anna, and everybody said that Shelly acted almost just like Anna, like she was a small Anna. Anna was almost a bigger version of Shelly. She was really loud and outspoken. She had to be right about everything, and that seemed to be the exact personality of Shelly also. So they are just like two peas in a pod. And it's interesting because Anna's husband was named George, and they were completely opposite. Anna was this wretched woman who was mean to everybody and just, you know, just rude, mean, had to be right about everything. And George was so sweet and nurturing. He wanted to take care of other people, which was interesting because they owned a couple of nursing homes together. And if you know, I'm not sure if everyone knows, but you know, if you know a nurse, they're always pretty sweet. Like, I'm a certified nursing assistant, and you have to have a pretty big heart to want to take care of people, and Anna did not. She was rude to the residents. None of them really liked her. They hated when she came around. She was rude, loud. None of them were ever right. She made them work, like physically do labor jobs, even though they were residents in a nursing home, while they all loved George because he was so sweet and paid them attention, and he would stop and talk with them and all that. Anna even made them go to her own house and clean her house. Like, she treated them like complete slaves. It was so sad. And get this, even George, her husband, she made him sleep in a shed in their backyard for 20 years. It wasn't just like oh honey, I'm mad at you tonight, go sleep in the shed. I wouldn't even make my husband sleep in a shed. I'd be like, go sleep on the couch. But a shed, and for 20 years, that's crazy. I could not get over that part. It was like Shelly almost stood up to Anna and wanted to be exactly like her, and almost impressionable at such a young age. She was attractive to her, like in a way that she wanted to be molded into like Anna's character. Like, she wanted to be just like her, another version of her. Shelly told her grandparents that her parents were giving her what she needed to succeed or any of that, and she said that she would love for her to come, she wanted to go live with her, and Anna loved that. She loved Shelly, even though they both told her no, even though and the kids were giving Laura a hard time, she still wanted to try and take on the role of being a stepmom and, being there for kids. Their mom had actually been murdered in 1969, so she wanted to really be there for them and, be a good role model. It was just really crazy around their house. Like I said, Shelly's grandfather was accused of sexually, or Shelly's father was being accused of sexually abusing her, and that came to come out that it was not true at all. They did testing and all that, so that was not right. She was getting turned away from schools, getting kicked out of schools, and nobody wanted her to come back because she was just so bad, and it was so hard to teach her. She was mean to the other kids. It was bad. None of the schools wanted her. But then in 1971, she was actually sent to a school that seemed to suit her better and that she seemed to like, and she wasn't getting in trouble that much, where her aunt lived, and so she ended up living there. That is where she meets a boy who actually, it seems like she's seeking all of this attention, and That's why she's been doing all these things her whole life, and she's just having a really hard time. And she meets this boy that gives her, gives her a lot of attention that she's been requiring. He's nice to her, sweet. He's always giving her gifts, and his name is Randy Rivardo. They started dating, but when she was done with school, that's when she got sent back home, and it was on the other side of the country, so they've been broken up for a week. She then told her dad that he would help her dad owned a bowling alley in their town, and she moved on to the other side of the country. She still wanted to be with Ricky, so she convinced her dad, and of course he's gonna say yes because he says yes to everything to her, to give him a job at the bowling alley, so that they can get a fresh start. So he gets Ricky a job at the bowling alley. Shelly's parents were actually really happy about this relationship because not only did it get Shelly, out of their hair and out of the house and playing pranks on them and everything, they just weren't having to deal with her anymore. So, they actually approved of this relationship. Not only did her dad give Randy a job, but they also put money down on an apartment for the both of them because at that time they couldn't afford it. So they ended up giving them money to live in an apartment that they paid for. Shortly after moving into the apartment, they did get married. And if all of this stuff isn't stressful, enough, she finds out that she is pregnant with her first child. She is only 19 at this time, so it was quite a surprise. But Shelly, she being pregnant, didn't really change her. She was still a brat. She was still mean, rude, stuck up. One example is her dad, Chuck. She wanted a new car, so she was 19. She was like, "Dad, I need a new car. I really need you to give me a new car, and I really want a VW." And he was like, "Well, I'll see what I can do." That's when he comes back with a Buick, and she pretty much told him, "No, that's not good enough. I don't want it." So he got her a car, and she said no, and that she did not want it. So it was just really bad. She was so mad to punish her dad that she went into the next room with a bottle of wine and pills, and she took a bunch of the pills and had to, make a big dramatic scene like Shelly would do. And she had to be rushed to the hospital and have her stomach pumped. Come to find out, when they pumped her stomach, she actually only took 2 pills. So she wasn't even in pain or dying or anything like that. Also, the fact that she was pregnant, she just wanted to get more attention. So, when she's pregnant, she's thinking they're all thinking this might be, a turning point for the family, a good thing for all of them. Maybe it'll bring them together, having a child, it'll be a good thing, right? I don't know, not so much. They think that, but just as soon as Randy realizes he can't keep up, he's trying his hardest to make all this money that he can for his family, but just as soon as he realizes that he's been, he finally realizes he's been getting his checks, but he hasn't been seeing them. Well, he's been going and getting paid and getting his checks, but Shelly's just been receiving them in the mail and spending everything. She did have a spending problem. She spent almost all of their money. Anytime she got any kind of money in her hands, it was gone, and she just bought whatever, and it was just a bunch of crap. It was almost like she was a hoarder. So she actually she knew that he had a big check coming in, and she was gonna get her hands on that check and sign it and get it, you know, cashed. And that's what she did, and that's how she treated her husband, who worked so hard for their family. It was really sad. It was ridiculous. So she actually then ends up having her daughter, Nikki. That is her first daughter. She is said to be very beautiful, little blonde hair, blue-eyed baby, and she is so sweet. But she actually ends up leaving Nikki with a family member. You know, she's just like, can you watch Nikki for a while and I'll be back, everything will be good, blah blah blah. After some time goes by, like not just a couple days, a while, they end up calling her, you know, questioning her, wondering where she is. They're like, well, where is Shelly and when will she be back to get her daughter? Laura felt it was best that she kind of kept Nikki from Shelly, just because she just didn't think that she was fit to be a good mom. So she thought this was the best thing for Nikki. So she kept staying with them. They take on the responsibility of raising Nikki for about a year. So a whole year goes by, not only a couple days, like I said, not even a week, a whole year goes by when Shelly shows back up to the house, acting like she hasn't been anywhere. She's been at home or just down the road the whole time. Just shows back up, acts like she hasn't been gone, and she's just like, yeah, I want my daughter back. I want her back right now. So they do end up giving her back to her, but that's just, you know, that's ridiculous. It's really sad. And then Shelly actually meets another man. Her and Ricky were not working out, just because, you know, would you be able to live with Shelly or even be in a relationship with her? Because I wouldn't. So they end up not working out, and she meets somebody named Danny Long. Shelly's parents knew him because his parents bowled at Chuck's bowling alley. Shelly's dad, he owns a bowling alley, remember, and his parents worked there. So that is how she met him. They didn't know each other for very long at all. When Shelly gets pregnant with her second daughter, and they do end up getting married in June 1976. So just 2 months later, she ends up getting pregnant, and their second daughter's name is Sammy. Danny was a really good guy and is described to be a really good guy to the girls. He even took on Sammy, her first daughter, to be his daughter. He took care of her. He was really, really sweet to her and Nikki. So they were all, you know, they were doing okay for a little while. Unfortunately though, Danny couldn't stay with Shelly. He said that she just brought out the worst in him, and he just, you know, could not live like that anymore. It was just hell for him. All they did was fight, and they always fought in front of the girls, and it was just a really unhealthy relationship. But it doesn't take long for Shelly to find another man shortly after her split from Danny. It was at a bar one night, and this man was named David Knotek. So they do get married, and they are married for quite a long time. They he pretty much moved in with her overnight and replaced Danny. She just said, you know, girls, this is gonna be your new dad, and that's just how it's gonna be. Dave was described as kind of a pushover. That's probably, you know, why Shelly wanted to be with him so bad, because she knew that she could control him. He's considered to be a pushover. He's definitely a people pleaser, which sounds like if you wanted to be around Shelly, that's what you had to do, is do what she says, all that, you know, just do whatever she says, or you won't get smacked or called names or anything like that. So this is very interesting. One day Shelly actually goes to Dave and tells him that she has cancer, and that she's had cancer for a while. And, you know, he just says that he was really upset about it, and he says that he'll help her with anything that she needs, and, you know, of course, he's gonna help with money situations, of course. He tells her that he wants her to go get help and go be healthy again, so he does give her money for her cancer treatments. They did get married in December 28th of 1968, and they did move into a big, beautiful farmhouse, big enough for their whole family. So it seems like a really good time in all of their lives. They seem to be semi-happy, you know, and during the midst of moving, she ended up pregnant with a third child. Her name was Sammy, and once again the family, you know, thought, great, you know, here's another baby that will hold our family together, make us happy again, make us feel like a family again, and everything will just be great. We have this new farmhouse. Dave had a new job where he was making pretty good money, so everything seemed like it was doing, you know, pretty good. And they all seemed like they were doing good. But Shelly would purposely start arguments and fights with Dave. But, you know, with the girls, it was a lot worse. And I just want to do a little trigger warning before I talk about any of this, because it is about abusing children. So if you need to skip ahead or skip to my next video, then that's fine, I understand. But Shelly did whip her kids with cords. She would throw appliances at them, and they could never really pinpoint, or they always wondered what they did to get such bad treatment from her. They were like, why would you throw that at us, or why would you hit us, why would you do this, what did we do? And she never really had an answer for her kids. She was just like, you know, she would throw things at them and it would just be bad. They didn't know what they did to deserve it. It was just one minute she was one different woman and one minute she was the next, and they just couldn't. I mean, she would attack them randomly. She was just crazy. They would be crying, terrified. They would always apologize to her, saying how sorry they were they didn't know what they did, but they would apologize over and over just to get her to stop. That's how horrible that she was to her children. Poor kids. It's really, really sad. Not only was it physical abuse, it was also very verbal and mental. I would even say sexual to a point. They were always made to believe like something was their fault, like they always did something wrong. They actually noticed at a young age that when they were beat, that Shelly kind of got a kick out of it. Like they could see in her eyes that it would excite her to beat them. Like it's just, she's disgusting. I hate her. So the girl, like, it was Nikki at first that got the most beat on, more than Sammy. She would get it really, really bad. She would have Nikki strip down and get naked and go outside. And then Dave would take the garden hose and hose her down naked. Then they would get her to pour bleach all over her body and scrub it in. Not soap, because she couldn't take a shower inside, but bleach. And then he would spray her down after, as she was standing outside in the freezing cold weather. Then Shelly, well, I guess before the bleach, she would make her get down on the ground in the mud and roll around like a pig. And she would tell her to roll around like the pig that she is. Shelly would forbid them to take showers, like I said, so that's where the bleach came in. In 1988, Shelly's nephew Shane came to live with them because his dad had been in and out of prison, and his mom had a drinking problem and also a problem with the drugs. So he did go and live with them, but as soon as he moves in, that's who automatically gets turned into Shelly's servant now. It's no longer Sammy, and now Shane has taken her spot. So she did allow him to have a bed with a pillow and blankets when he first moved there, and to bring his clothes and things like that, but not after long. She would take his things. So she would take all of his clothes, and they would just go missing, but obviously, you know, she took them. She would take his pillows, his blankets, and then eventually she made him sleep in the closet on the floor. He would also have to go through the same torture as the girls, like being stripped down and having to stand in the yard and be hosed down with the bleach. It was just awful. She would make Nikki and Shane, who were teenagers, go into the yard together and strip down naked while they were hosed down, and she would make them dance together. And they're teenagers at this point, so they're both, you know, developing, and it's awkward, and that's just something you don't do. It's awful. It's just, she's really, really messed up in the head. And she even took it as far as making them, like I said, slow dance together naked. And her and Dave would sit there and laugh at them. Another time she duct taped Shane to a wall. Like, she actually duct taped his body to a wall. And she ended up putting Icy Hot, you know, the Icy Hot rub you put on your sore muscles. She put it on his, you know, lower area down there, and he would scream and cry while she laughed at him, and it was just sick. That same year that Shane moves in, is when she's having her other baby. That baby's name is Tori, and like I said, it's something that the whole family is looking forward to, you know, maybe a more positive change, and things can just get better from here, hopefully. But I think they all pretty much doubt that that's going to happen. Shelly, you know, remember that Shelly did tell people that she had cancer. So she tells Dave already knew, and she ends up telling her good friend Kathy Loreno that she has cancer, and Kathy takes this as a perfect opportunity, because Shelly asks Kathy if she will move in with her to, you know, take care of her since she has cancer. Kathy at this time did have a job as a hairdresser, but since there were so many hairdressers in the building, they were gonna have to let her go, even though she was described as being happy-go-lucky all the time, really bubbly. Everybody loved her. She was a really sweet lady, but they just had to let her go due to business. So she did end up moving in with them to help take care of her. Kathy was born on August 8th, 1958 in Los Angeles. Like I said, she was kind to everybody. She did become a cosmetologist and a hairdresser. She was well loved by all her clients and her co-workers, like I said, but they just had to let her go for business reasons. And since she couldn't pay the bills anymore, she took up Shelly's offer on moving into the house with her, because she wouldn't have to pay any bills there. She would just have to help take care of Shelly. At this time, Shelly's mom was calling and asking Dave about her whole cancer situation. She's asked him, you know, have you ever gone to a chemo session with her? Have you ever seen a receipt where she's gotten back, you know, paid for her treatment? Anything like that? Have you ever gone to a doctor's appointment? And he said, no, but I drop her off and I wait in the parking lot until she's done. And Laura, oh, I think I said Laura was Shelly's mom. She's not. Remember, Laura's her stepmom, Chuck, Shelly's dad's new wife. So that's Shelly's stepmom that's calling Dave and asking him this, sorry. And he was like, well, I drop her off and wait for her to be done. And then she comes out, and then, you know, we leave. And she's like, well, how long do you wait for? You know, that's not how it's done. You wait in the car. And Dave said he usually waits for about 8 hours. So he's waiting out in the car for 8 hours for Shelly to come out after her chemo is done. And 8 hours, you would not catch me sitting out in a car for 8 hours. I mean, that's crazy. Like, I don't know what he's thinking, but you know, it's just, but he says 8 hours, and it's just, Laura just thinks that's crazy. She's just like, that's not how it works. And then she's like, have you ever seen an insurance bill? And he's like, no, because Shelly pays all the bills, so I've never seen that. I just give her the money, and she takes it to the clinic, and then she gets her chemo done, and then just comes out. And he said that she takes care of it, and that it's not unusual, but she just, you know, Laura just kind of convinced him that that wasn't the right thing to do, that you don't just drop someone off for 8 hours and then come, you know, wait in a parking lot. But Laura's pretty sure that he was dropping her off at the hospital, and then Shelly was actually leaving out the back door, and she was leaving for those whole 8 hours to get her hair done, to get her nails done, to go to lunch with friends. Like, she was just going out wherever, you know, going out and doing whatever for those 8 hours while he was just sitting in the car waiting. So one day Laura tried to catch Shelly off guard by going to her house and just asking her a couple of these questions about her chemo treatments and just seeing how she's doing in general. And when Shelly greets him at the door, she is pale white. It's like she painted her face with white foundation, and she shaved off her eyebrows too. And she was, you know, she was really aggravated that Laura was there. And Laura said, you know, this isn't how cancer works. You know, it doesn't, your eyebrows don't just, I don't know. She just, also, Shelly, she went to the bathroom, cut her hair, and came out with clumps of hair in her hands and was like, see, I'm losing my hair. I do have cancer. And Laura was like, when you have cancer and you're going through chemo, your hair comes out of the roots of your head. It doesn't just, it isn't unevenly chopped off all the way around. Like, it just did not make sense. So she really wasn't buying it. And after they had Tori, everything seemed to be going good for a while, until one day Nikki, Shelly's oldest daughter, is walking down the stairs when she catches Shelly with a pillow over Tori's face. She caught her off guard. And then after that, Nikki knew that she needed to do something to protect her little sister and all her sisters, and even Shane, her cousin, because they're all just in trouble. So with the attention of the new baby, Kathy had to make sure that she was still the center of Shelly's world and her attention. She didn't want any attention taken after her, off of her either. So, she was just becoming the target of extreme physical abuse, that she was being constantly belittled. She started to isolate herself from her friends and her family, and just the world, because Shelly was convincing her that she was just worthless and nobody loved her. Shelly even chopped off all of Kathy's hair, and Kathy was said to have she was known to have known for her really beautiful voluminous hair. You know, this was the 90s, so people had huge hair, so that's what she was known for. And Shelly chopped it all off to belittle her and make her feel really bad about herself. And unfortunately, that's sad. That's what a lot of abusive people do, to try to take control and keep control over people. It's really sad. So she cut off all her hair. One of the worst incidents she was accused of was going into Shane's bedroom while he was sleeping. Now we're talking about Kathy. So Shelly accused Kathy of going into Shane's bedroom while he was sleeping and climbing into his bed while she was naked to cuddle with him. And it's just something that Kathy would not even do, but she was accused of that. And she was like, you know, maybe I was sleepwalking, but that's just something that, you know, I would not do. And Shelly asked